So which weapons should you use on Alyosha? His weapon options are actually going to be a little bit interesting because he's going to be mainly just a support, electro enabler, and buffer in general, and also healer at the same time, but mainly just supportive capabilities, and his supportive capabilities cannot be directly measured. So his weapon options are going to be a little bit all over the place, honestly. They're not like as fully direct. Hopefully in this video we'll rank all of the polearms in the game based around which of them are going to be the best weapons for Alyosha. So before we start ranking the weapons, let's first explain what does he actually need on a weapon, so we do understand based around what we're going to be ranking these weapons. So as I said before, Alyosha is just mainly going to be a support and healer in general, and a lot of his support is going to come from his elemental burst. It's going to cost also 70 energy, and even though he scales with energy recharge, it also still means that you're going to need a lot of energy recharge to make sure you burst on uptime. Also, his energy recharge is going to buff his elemental burst and skill damage. So the first thing you want to get for Alyosha is going to be energy recharge. I think that's probably the main thing you want to go for on your weapon in general. The first thing you want to go for on a weapon or just like support in general. As like a simple support character, especially as a 4-star, one of the biggest ways you can make him have impacts on your teams is if his weapon or his artifact set and stuff like that gives your team something. So if any weapons can give your team energy or attack buffs or damage buffs or anything like that, they're going to be super valuable for sure. So supportive capabilities are going to be heavily appreciated on weapons. And then lastly, attack is going to be the last thing you'd want. It's not going to be terrible on his weapons for sure. He's still going to need attack. His healing is going to scale with attack, and his damage is obviously going to scale with attack, but I feel like there's just too many sources where you can get attack from, to the point where it doesn't really matter if you get it on your weapon or not. That's basically it for his weapon requirements. I wouldn't really recommend crit weapons. I don't think his damage in general is going to be worth it for you to start building crit rate and crit damage on him, so just stick to energy recharge, supportive capabilities, and attack if possible. That's pretty much it. And knowing that, let's move on to the tier list and rank his weapons. Alright, so starting off with the 3-star weapons, we have the White Tassel. It's just crit rate. Honestly, it's D tier, a low base attack too. Halberd is going to be attack, so it's not terrible. I put it as C tier, but definitely not the best weapon you want to go for. And Black Tassel is just HP, so it's going D tier. Now for the 4-star options, we have the Dragon's Bane, Elemental Mastery. I would say it's definitely just D tier. Prototype Starter Glitter is just going to give you energy recharge. The rest of the passive is just going to increase your normal charge attacks, which you're simply not going to use at all. So I don't think it's going to be a valuable passive, but it being able to give you energy recharge, you can simply just use it as an energy recharge stat stick. So honestly, I would put the Prototype Star Glitter at just probably like lowish A tier. I think that's probably the right place. Crescent Pike is just physical damage, so it's going D tier. Blacklift Bolt, crit damage, D tier. Deathmatch, D tier. Lithic Spear, basically just a simple attack stat stick. I don't think you're going to be playing him with any leeway characters, at least not any that I can think of. So probably just a simple attack stat stick. I'll probably leave it at B tier. Favonius Lanes, probably one of the best weapons overall. It's going to give you energy recharge for yourself, and then it's also going to give energy to your teammates, which is the support I was talking about before. So obviously it's going to be perfect for Alyosha. It's going to help you get your energy recharge needs, and then also help your teammates with energy, which is going to be heavily appreciated. So yeah, I think the Favonius is definitely going to be S tier. Just make sure you build some crit rate on Alyosha if you're using the Favonius, and it's going to be a pretty good weapon. Royal Spear is also just a simple attack stat stick, so I'll probably leave it B tier. Dragon Spine Spear, physical damage, D tier. Hidden Cross Spear, Elemental Mastery, D tier. The Catch, probably a super good weapon too. It's going to give you that energy recharge, and it's also going to buff your elemental burst damage by a little bit, which is going to be pretty good. It's going to help out your damage, even though it's not going to be big in the first place, but definitely a pretty good option, especially if you have it R5. It's going to give you like 32% elemental burst damage bonus, and also 12% crit rate, which is going to be pretty good. So honestly, the Catch, I put it at a high A tier for sure. I think it's going to be pretty good. Wavebreaker Spin, going to be attack, and then it's also going to give you some elemental burst damage bonus. I'll probably put it at either high B tier or low A tier. I put a high B tier. I think that's probably the right place, but it's definitely a decent weapon. Just elemental burst damage bonus, some attack, not bad. Wound Piercer, Elemental Mastery, probably just D tier. Missive Wind Spear, it's going to give you quite a bit of attack, so I would also put it at the top of B tier. Ballad of the Fords, crit rate, just D tier. Rightful Reward, HP, some energy, but doesn't really matter, so probably C tier. Dialogue of the Desert Sages, also HP. It can give you some energy if you heal, but you know, it's not really the best weapon overall. I'll probably put it as C tier too, just for the energy recovery, but yeah. Prospector's Drill is going to be attack, which is pretty good, and then when you heal or heal others, which Alyosha is going to be able to easily trigger, you're going to get some stacks, and then you can consume them when you use your elemental skill or burst, which you can also easily trigger. Actually, it might be a little uncomfortable to like actually fully take advantage of this, because you need 3 ticks of healing, and then you need to use your elemental skill or burst. So in most rotations, I don't think you're going to be able to actually take advantage of this, because Alyosha is going to be pretty quick. Even if you already have your elemental burst, then you just want to skill, use it, and then leave. I don't think you want to stay on field and then get the stacks and then use your elemental skill, so it's going to be kind of hard to actually take full advantage of this. In general though, it's still going to be like a B tier weapon. It just simply gives you attack, so I keep it at B tier too. Mountain Bracing Bolt, basically just a small injury charge substat and then some elemental skill damage bonus. Doesn't really matter as much, so I put it like low A tier. Footprint of the Rainbow, just defense, D tier. Tamayu Turate thingy, it's also just going to be injury charge, and then just a simple attack increase and also movement speed increase after you use your elemental skill, which is going to be heavily appreciated on Alyosha. So this weapon gives you the two things you need, injury charge and also attack. Unfortunately, it doesn't buff your teammates or support them by anything, but I do think it's going to be a pretty good weapon, probably one of the top weapons overall. So honestly, I think it deserves S tier. Prospector's Shovel, basically just an attack stat stick, B tier. Sacrificer's Staff, it's going to be crit rate, and the passive can actually give you some attack and injury charge, but it's not really going to last for long, and you can only get one stack with Alyosha, so not the greatest weapon overall. I put a C tier probably. The new battle pass weapon is also going to be injury charge, which is pretty good, but yeah, it's going to give you injury charge and then possibly attack and regenerate energy for your teammates if you trigger a cryo hydro related elemental reaction, which you can do with stellar conducts usually if you're playing them in stellar conduct teams, which is what you should be doing. So it's going to be a perfect weapon basically. It has everything you need, just injury charge, attack, and also energy for your teammates. The only problem is that the passive is not going to be fully consistent all the time, because in some rotations you might not be able to actually like trigger stellar conducts with Alyosha himself, but generally speaking, in most of his teams, this is going to be possible. So overall, I do think it deserves S tier usually. You just got to make sure it works. So yeah, it's definitely an S tier weapon overall. Now we have the new craftable weapon. Unfortunately, it's going to give you elemental mastery as a substat, which is not the best thing for Alyosha. It's not terrible, like it might still be useful here and there, but I've been ranking all elemental mastery weapons pretty low because I don't think you should get it from your weapon at all. If anything, a few substats are definitely going to be enough. So yeah, unfortunately the elemental mastery substat is not going to be the good thing, but the passive is going to be basically the same thing as the previous one. When you trigger an elemental reaction, it's going to regenerate 4 energy for you, potentially 8 if you have refinement 5, which is super good. And then when you trigger a stellar reaction, it's going to increase your attack by either 20% or up to 40% if you have refinement 5 on the weapon, which is pretty good. So at R5 is going to be 8 energy and then 40% attack, which is heavily appreciated. So even with the elemental mastery substat, the passive is going to be super good on this weapon, so I definitely do think it deserves S tier. Staff of Homa is just going to be crit damage, but it's going to increase your HP and then give you some attack based on your HP, so you can consider it sort of like a stat stick, and with the high base attack, I wouldn't say it's terrible, even though the crit damage substat is not really super useful. So I'd still put it like mid B tier, just as a simple stat stick too. Skyward Spine, pretty decent too. Basically just a high base attack and then injury charge stat stick. The high base attack is going to allow your, attack sands and stuff like that to scale better, which is pretty good, and then injury charge is obviously pretty good. I wouldn't say it's an S tier weapon though. I put it like around top-ish of A tier. Vortex Vanisher is just like the ultimate attack stat stick. Just B tier honestly, even though it does give more attack than all of these, so I would put it at top of B tier, but still nothing really special. Primordial Jade is just crit rate. It can also give you some attack, but I don't imagine you're gonna be able to have all the stacks at the same time, so I probably put it at like very low B tier, because it's gonna have a high base attack and also still give you some attack, so it's not terrible, but definitely not the best option. Calamity Queller, also going to be like the ultimate attack stat stick, super high base attack and then an attack substat. It's also going to give you some elemental damage bonus, which is pretty decent, and then just by using your elemental skill, your attack is going to be increasing after each second, and if you're off field, that's also going to double, and Alyosha is going to be off field, so yeah, definitely a pretty good weapon. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still an attack stat stick, so I wouldn't put it too high, but I would say it's A tier. I put it low A tier. I think that's probably the right place. Engulf of Lightning, probably one of the best weapons too overall. It's going to give you injury charge, a high 5-star base attack, and then it's going to increase your attack based on your injury charge. And obviously you're going to be building a lot of injury charge in Alyosha, probably around 200 or even more. So you're going to get a hefty attack bonus, probably around 30% or more. And also it's going to give you more injury charge after you use your elemental burst. So yeah, I do think it's an S tier weapon for sure. A good attack injury charge combination, which is pretty good. Staff of the Scarlet Sands, just crit rate, but then it can give you some attack based on your elemental mastery, but you you won't be building that much elemental mastery on him, so I don't think it's gonna be as good. I put it as C tier. Orlikino's weapon, honestly, is probably around D tier. There's not much going on. Limidu's Elegy, just crit rate, some attack for the passive, but that's about it. Probably C tier too. Symphonis of Sense, it's gonna give you a crit damage substat, but it's actually pretty decent. It has a super good passive. It's gonna increase your attack by 12%, just a flat increase, which is pretty good. And then when you're off field, it's gonna give you more attack. That's gonna happen easily with Alyosha. And then whenever the character heals, which you can easily do with Alyosha, the character you healed will obtain 32% attack for 3 seconds, but whenever you heal, that's gonna happen again. So you can easily sustain it with Alyosha for a pretty good period of time. So this weapon basically just gives you attack and also support, which is heavily appreciated. I do think it deserves S tier 2. Even though it doesn't give any energy recharge, I think that's fine. Support is worth it. Fractured Halo, basically just a simple attack stat stick. I put it low B tier. Blood-Soaked Ruins, probably just D tier honestly. And then Disaster and Remorse, just probably D tier overall too. So yeah, that's it for the tier list. A lot of his S tier weapons are going to be quite a weird variety honestly. I mean, mostly it's just energy recharge weapons, but a lot of weapons like the Symphonic of Sense, for example, are just mainly going to be pretty good for the support they give to your teammates. And Engulf of Lightning is going to be pretty good for the energy recharge and the attack buff. But yeah, you have a lot of good weapon options, a lot of free-to-play weapon options too, like the Song of the Visual. So yeah, I do think it's definitely free-to-play friendly overall. If anything, just use the Song of the Visual and you're good. And if you have the Favonius, that's even better. But yeah, that was the video, guys. Tell me which weapons you guys are going to be using. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.